Hello everyone, my name is Remy. I come from the Eavestaker community, and today we have this awesome call with Protocol Guild, this nice tech demo. And I'm glad to be joined by a bunch of our Eavestaker friends here. Let me introduce them to you. First, we have Nix. Hello, Nix. We have Super Fizz and myself. So we're also joined by the great team from Protocol Guild. First, we have Trent. Hello, Trent. How you doing
Hey,
today?
hey, I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome.
I'm
Hello,
back
Cheeky.
after a week off.
Great. Hello, Cheeky. How you doing?
Hey guys, awesome to be here.
Cheeky is gonna be the one doing the tech demo, but first, let us talk a little about what is Protocol Guild, what you guys are doing, how does this relate with stakers? I don't know if Trent, you want to pick this one up.
Sure. So it might be repeating some information that people are already aware of because we already had one call and Protocol Guild's been around for a year, but I'll give a quick intro to what it is and why we think it's important. So Protocol Guild started, like I said, about a little more than a year ago, directly to address the idea of core contributors and how they're funded. There's a lot of incentives for people to uh, join a layer two team with a token, join a DeFi project, get pulled in a bunch of different directions due to reasonable financial incentives. And what we wanted to create was a mechanism and build some norms around the ecosystem funding the core protocol itself. You're probably familiar with Gitcoin if you're a part of the Ethereum community, where individuals can contribute to grants and therefore fund things that they're interested in. You can think of this as like a specifically curated Gitcoin grant that addresses. Right now, we have 128 members, and we have designed the smart contract. It all lives on chain such that somebody could donate to a single address and know with really high level of confidence that it's going directly to the individuals that are working on the core protocol. The things that the foundational components, the foundational infrastructure that everybody building these crazy, wacky experiments on top of the chain depend on. So that's the EVM broadly, the people that are working on the virtual machine. It's the people that are building the clients who are the actual instantiation of the code in different languages. That's the researchers who are trying to forecast, a couple of years ahead to see what Ethereum can be in the future and how we can work towards that today. And people like myself who do coordination, engaging the community with network upgrades, things like that. So it's a really broad set of members from about 20, I think 23 different teams across the entire ecosystem. It's not just the EF, even though I do work for the EF. Uh, but yeah, that was the aim and a little bit about Protocol Guild. So we've been working for a year to bootstrap the norms around the ecosystem contributing back, and really excited to continue this experiment with ETHStaker and starting to talk about what does it look like for the protocol to fund itself? What does it look like for the people who are actually, participating in consensus and performing their validator duties? What does it look like for them to also participate in a mechanism like this? So yeah, like I mentioned, we had one call maybe a month ago or so at the end of December, and now we're digging a little bit deeper. We've put together this tutorial, starting to poke at the idea, and Cheeky will go into it at a much higher depth. Um, but yeah, I think this is one of the cool things about Ethereum is that we can actually engage in these experiments about like what does self-funded infrastructure look like? How do these things, how do these mutually beneficial relationships self-organize? How can we improve them? What are the ways that we can explore them? So yeah, um, super excited that we have the space here, and I appreciate you guys making time for us to talk about the project.
And I'm not gonna lie, we depend on you guys, like Protocol Guild. Not exactly you guys, but you guys are funding some of the development work and all the research work that we rely on every day. So, what these guys are doing are very important for the whole community and like whatever tools you use every day, or like the protocol, the base layer, everything that we depend on is or can be funded by Protocol Guild. So that's like an important goal for you
Yeah.
guys.
I will just jump in really quick and say Protocol Guild is very small today. It works with, existing commercial entities, nonprofits like the EF. Many people and organizations are involved in funding the core protocol stuff that we depend on today. Protocol Guild is a small experiment, but we hope it will over time become a significant incentive for people to contribute to the core protocol. But
How
yeah.
much have you been able to raise so far?
So depending on the day that you look and whether the market's up or down, the conservative estimate is we roughly raise about 10 million from a bunch of different DeFi and well, not just DeFi, but on-chain organizations last year. Um, yeah, but a couple different tokens directly from those treasuries.
And how do you guys see like what are your next goal in terms of fundraising? How much do you expect or would like to see in the next year or like 2 3 years?
Sure. So the pilot was we wanted to raise 10 million, and part of the smart contract mechanism we use is that any funds that we raise vest, and for the pilot they vested for 1 year. So in May of 2023, we'll be coming up on the end of the pilot, and we're already working towards things that we want to improve on for the next version. So this pilot funds vested for 1 year. Post pilot, we are thinking to have funds vest for 4 years and aim to raise a much higher amount. We're looking to hopefully raise 100 million. And again, this goes directly to the people that are working on the protocol. It just doesn't go to like some foundation that then distributes it to individuals through grants that they have to request. We're trying to, remove as much inefficiency as we can in this cycle of funding going to the people that are actually doing the work. We want to make it as direct as possible.
As a staker and as part of the staking community, we all depend on the protocol and the dev work that is being done there. How can staker helps and donate to this protocol guild?
Sure. So, like I said, Cheeky will hopefully have a successful demo in a few minutes, and he'll go through one way that people can contribute, which is directly with their ETH execution layer income, or not income, I would say just the ETH that they're getting as a result of participating in consensus. You can set up your own split. That's one way to do it. The other way, which is huge because it's relatively a young organization and we're still iterating, one thing you can help with is awareness. So just understanding what the mechanism is, giving us feedback on simple things like where the docs are unclear, where wording is confusing. So that's like the communication aspect, and then just helping other people be aware of it. Like, oh, there's Gitcoin, there's also Protocol Guild, there's Optimism Art, PGF. There's like all these mechanisms that are worth experimenting, and we would love to have more people be aware of what we're doing and how others can be engaged with it. And then, yes, beyond communication and engagement, there's this contributing directly. There's an on-chain contract that people can send to with whatever amount they feel comfortable donating. It goes directly to the 128 members, and that would be the protocolguild.eth. That's to the vesting contract. There's also a split contract if you want to send to that directly. But it's pretty straightforward. You would just literally, it's a simple on-chain send.
I believe you guys have done some math on like how much you guys could get from just the staking community. Do you guys have like any idea if like everyone were about to give like 1% of their rewards, for instance?
I'll turn that over to Cheeky because he's done some math scenarios on that.
Well, I'll start making it more personal for the individual rep validator, right? Because they might want to know, okay, how much am I donating? And so for that, I used an awesome resource called ultrasound.money, which I know everyone here already knows, which essentially shows you how much stakers can earn over the course of a year, right? So if you have one validator running a MEV relay, you can expect to earn more or less 2.3 ETH per validator per year. Now, of that 2.3 ETH, about 1 ETH of that is part of the execution reward. And so what you'll find out is basically this guide that we're going to walk you through is how to donate a portion of your execution rewards, not your consensus rewards. And there's a few reasons for that, which we can go into a little bit later. But essentially, so if we're only looking at the execution rewards, right? So that's the tips from block proposals and MEV. So it's 1 ETH. If you're donating, let's say 1% of that over a year, that's 0.01 ETH. And at current prices, that's less than $20 per year, right? If whales want to donate a little bit more, that's great. But for the moment, as a symbolic gesture, 1%, we think that's a nice amount.
And so if we multiply this by the amount of active validator on the network right now, would that be like 2 million per year or something? If like everyone were to donate their 1% of their executive rewards.
Yeah, exactly. So if we have like 500,000 validators times $20, that's about, how much is that? That's about, is it $10 million a year? So it brings us a good way in our 100 million goal, not all the way, but that's obviously the reason why we want to get buy-in from across Ethereum's industry, across the entire community.
Awesome. I think Yorick has a question. Go ahead, Yorick.
Yeah, I have a tax question. Is the Protocol Guild a charity? Like, can people say these $20 I'm now deducting from my taxes?
No, the Protocol Guild is not a legal entity in its current form. So unfortunately, Torsten, you need to absorb that tax on the full amount, even though you're donating.
So I'm foregoing like 4 really expensive lattes here per year.
But we appreciate it, and the protocol appreciates it.
Got it.
So, like, do you guys have any plan on like helping people with their taxes, donations, or anything, or like structuring yourself in more of a legal structure? Is that something you've considered, or is that something you're looking into? Maybe
we're looking into many things. So I think the general idea is that as the protocol develops, perhaps the Protocol Guild as a mechanism will have to change as well, right? Maybe it needs to embrace L2s in various ways, right? And so there's a chance that we will look into potentially having a legal entity for the Protocol Guild, if it makes sense for all the contributors, if it makes sense for the industry, if it makes sense for Ethereum, the protocol. But I think it's probably too early to say anything at this stage.
Awesome. So let's talk about, like, you just mentioned the execution rewards that validators could donate. What about the consensus rewards? Like, I believe this is also tied with withdrawals.
Yeah, exactly. So probably it makes sense to just take a step back and talk about the difference between execution rewards and consensus rewards, just to make 100% certain that everyone knows exactly what they will be donating, right? So, and this is going to be a refresher for all of your loyal viewers, but there are 2 types of validator rewards, right? There's the execution rewards and the consensus rewards. The execution rewards, that's the stuff that stakers, they have access to today, right? Post-merge, at least. Tips from block proposals and MEV, if they're running an MEV relay. On the other hand, you have consensus rewards, and that's the stuff that stakers have been waiting for to get their hands on after withdrawals are enabled, right? These are rewards for attestations, these are rewards for proposals, and for being selected as part of a sync committee. And so what we're proposing is that stakers donate a portion of their execution rewards, again, that's tips and MEV, mainly because we don't want stakers to accidentally give us a portion of their consensus rewards they've been earning over the past 2 years after withdrawals are enabled, or in a more extreme case, if they exit, we don't want them to accidentally donate 1% of their validator deposit to the guild, right? So for that reason, as we go through this walkthrough, we'll show you how to donate just the execution.
They don't want to donate 1% of their rewards. You want them to donate 1% of their rewards, right?
We would hate for somebody to do this inadvertently. So no, we don't want them to do that.
Hey, that's one of the things I've been loving about your trajectory is that you have only really embraced very intentional gifts and not what you might call accidental or inadvertent gifts. So I'm really I love that direction.
Yeah, there's a deeper, you could say political or origination, or maybe just social. Ethereum as a protocol, as a consensus mechanism, is very concerned with um, credible neutrality. And if a chain were to have a default set of core devs or something that received a block reward by default, it creates a greater incentive for political capture, for the ecosystem being able to influence it in certain ways, for somebody just fucking off with billions of dollars, right? These are bad outcomes. And so I think we're carrying forward that tradition of, uh, you know, never enshrine your heroes in it, or like never enshrine the somebody who could possibly um, take something and make a negative outcome. And so, yeah, we're very intentional about not, um, we don't want people ever to have the sense of like they're being forced to contribute to this or to fund it, because that over a long enough time frame tends to capture. So yeah, very intentional about people opting in, doing it voluntarily.
So no
Very cool that you
consensus
thought
layer
through that.
rewards directly to vitalik.eth. I got it.
Yes.
A comment on that, I would say with execution layer rewards, what I really love is that people can also change their mind, right? The fee recipient can be changed at any time. And then this is also very, very compatible with things like, can we show eigenlayer? With things like eigenlayer or similar ideas where they want you to set the withdrawal address, right? And you can, this remains compatible with that idea because you're not impacting that.
I don't think either of us know enough about eigenlayer, the protocol, to comment, but
Yeah.
hopefully there wouldn't be a conflict there. Yeah.
No, I don't think there is because they sit on the withdrawal address, not the fee recipient.
Yeah. And one last thing on like the political aspect of this is like if core devs do somehow capture the protocol and say, all right, everybody has to upgrade their software to this without buying community consensus. One way that the community can give feedback in a very direct way is withdrawing future funding for the people that are doing this work and saying, I actually don't agree with the path protocol is taking. In that sense, it's self-balancing in a good way that people can very easily withdraw their funding of these public goods, which is a little bit different because we're dealing with the intangible digital world. And in real life, you can't opt out of taxes. You're obligated to pay them. But this is one case where you can vote with your funding in a sense.
An important question. Is there going to be a POAP for opting into this split?
So obviously, very good question. It's always on the front of mind for people. We haven't actively thought about like what this would look like. Of course, it's always an option and definitely a motivator for some people. So yeah, for sure, we'll consider it. One bigger topic we've thought about is like could we adapt a nouns type mechanism for public goods funding? There is I think it's called P nouns. Which one is it, Cheeky? There's a fork of the nouns protocol that is like explicitly focused on public goods and things like that. But yeah, hopefully in the future we'll do more with like NFTs and Protocol Guild.
I believe we are almost ready to do the tech demo with Cheeky, but first, I believe you're going to be using a 0xSplit contract to split the actual reward. Can you tell us why we should be trusting this kind of contract?
I will not tell you to trust it. You can, if you're comfortable looking into Solidity code, you should review it yourself. What I can point to is they've been live for, let's see, we deployed in May. So if you trust, proof of time as the ultimate test of something with a compromise or an exploit, a year is getting pretty good, with, not incredible amounts of money locked up in it, but it's out in the wild, and there's been time for people to to test it in prod. So that's one thing you can look to as an indicator. It's also been audited. I don't know the name of the firm that did the initial audit, but so like they've at least checked those boxes of, you know, their due diligence for security purposes. And then Protocol Guild members did do a more higher level analysis, so we were comfortable enough to use it. But yeah, definitely, if you're very security minded, check out the code yourself and don't take our word for it.
Good answer. All right, Cheeky, if you're ready with the demo, I believe we can just go ahead and do it.
All right. I will go ahead and share my screen. Move this down. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. So what are we looking at right now? You can see that we are in the 0xSplit interface online, right? And what we're looking at is essentially the finished. Oh, it says your screen sharing is paused. Here we go. All right, let's try that again. So what you're looking at is the finished product, right? This is a split contract that has already been set up by myself around about a month ago. And as part of setting up this split contract, you can see at the top, there is an address, right? It looks like a very normal Ethereum address, but in this case, obviously, this address is for this specific split contract. And in this split contract, you can see under recipients, there are two recipients. There's the controller. This is my address ending in 1D91. And then there's another one going to the protocol.eth. And on the right of that, we can see the percentage share. So I am getting 99% of that. The Protocol Guild is getting 1% of that, right? And so what I'm going to do is basically walk you through how to create your own version of this. And then you will have a user interface exactly like this, where you can see the historical activity of your split contract. You can see the various distributions that happen. You can see the total amount that has been distributed. And of course, you can see here it says this mutable split can be changed by me at any time. So if you want to change something, you will be able to do so. But let's start from the beginning. So we can go to the 0xSplit's website, which is app.0xSplits.xyz. And you can see on the left-hand side, there's a navigation bar with one option to connect a wallet. I'm going to go ahead and do that now using MetaMask. Since I've connected before, there's no prompt for me to verify this, but for most people there would be. And then what you see is on the left, there's an option for new contract, okay? 0xSplits has three different types of contracts. The one that we're going to focus on is obviously the split contract. That's the one that we've been talking about so far. So I'll go ahead and click that. Now we're basically given a whole bunch of different settings to toggle for this new split contract. The first of those is whether or not it's a immutable, mutable, or liquid split. Let's focus on the first two. So immutable means that it cannot be changed. Mutable means that it can be changed. And so in this case, what we want to do is we want to create a mutable split. The reason why is because we want the staker to have sole control over this split, okay? Then the next section
Can you do me a favor and mention liquid splitting? Can you mention liquid splitting? I didn't quite get how that works.
So liquid splitting is not something that the Protocol Guild is using, but it's essentially, if I go back, well, I don't have it anymore. Essentially, instead of having like the percentage ownership displayed in the way that we saw it before, there are basically NFTs that people can send to each other that represents this percentage ownership. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, thanks. Sorry.
Yeah. So not super relevant for the Protocol Guild, but who knows, for other uses, I'm sure there's some exciting stuff you can do with that. So with recipients, right, we see there's already two boxes here, yeah? And so what I want to do is I want to have my own address there and the Protocol Guild, right? So I can click here to copy my own address and then paste that here in the first one. It immediately sees that's a valid address. I'll go ahead and say 99%, please. And in the second field, I will type the protocol guild.eth. Protocol Guild would help if I spelled that correctly. There we go. And I'll give that 1%. Okay, there's some other modifications you could do here. You could add another recipient if you wanted to, so you can get a bit fancier with this. But obviously, for this purpose, what we're doing is 1 for me, 1 for the protocol guild, 99% going to me, 1% going to the protocol guild. Next, distribution incentive. I am going to set this to 0, but let me explain what this is. The distribution incentive essentially helps you automate the payouts associated with your split contract. Because as you may or may not be aware of, when you're dealing with Ethereum smart contracts, things aren't exactly truly automatic, right? For things to happen, for things to move, someone needs to poke the smart contract and pay the gas to make it do a thing, right? And so the distribution incentive essentially exists to help automate distributions such that if there's a third party who wants to pay the gas needed to distribute the funds in the split contract amongst the recipients, then they could be rewarded for doing so. And so if your distribution incentive is higher than the amount that you would pay in gas, then you would expect that it would be paid out automatically because of this incentive system. But again, in this case, I'm going to keep that at 0 because I don't need that white glove treatment of having a third party pay this out for me. I would like to have control of when I do this. So we'll keep that at 0. And then finally, there's a field for controlling address. You can see I didn't enter anything in here. It auto-populated it for me based on the address that I used to connect to this interface via MetaMask. My address ending in 1D91, right? That's exactly the same one as I have up here with my recipient. And so if this were, a real staker's address, then obviously as a staker, we would expect them to have great OPSEC in terms of making sure that they would only use a controlling address that is, for example, secured via a hardware wallet, right? You want to make sure that this is not a hot wallet. You want to make sure this is something very, very secure that truly only you control. Are there any questions up to this point?
I think that's pretty clear.
Great. Okay. So as you can see, it's really just those 4 options, right? Immutable split, set the recipients, put distribution incentive to 0, unless you want someone else to toggle this for you, and then keep the controlling address as your own wallet or hardware wallet, whatever you want. Now you can go ahead and click Create Split. And so we're doing all this on mainnet, by the way. That's worth clarifying. Why mainnet? Because, well, that's where your validator lives, right? So you can't do this on Optimism. I'll go ahead and edit this so that it goes super fast. Thank you, EIP1559. And you can see that the gas fee right now, it's estimating up to $8.41. So I'll go ahead and confirm that. And once that transaction gets confirmed, it will forward me to my newly created split contract, right? And so depending on the gas fees, I'm actually not sure what the gas fees are like right now. Let's have a look on ultrasound.money, 41. Yeah, so it's, I guess, normal business hours, US business hours right now. So let's see how fast this gets accepted. You can see here, there's still a notice about creating a split. But in fact, I guess that means that the transaction is already being accepted. I can go to Etherscan and check that out. Yeah.
I think you should be good. The front end may take a second to catch up. But the transaction was there.
Sorry, say that again?
The transaction it looked like it was included. But the front end may take a second to catch up.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else? I guess one thing to note, like you typed the protocol guild.eth and there was a typo. I mean, this is like general address practice, but always double check that the hex string is actually the right one. F29F is the current vesting address, so always make sure to double check that. We don't have it currently, but it may be the case in the future that somebody buys the typo ENS names in an attempt to get those little errors as they come.
That would be unfortunate, but I'm guessing people are already on that.
Yeah, possibly.
I'm working on it right now, so yeah, I know.
Yeah, and you can always verify the address associated with the Protocol Guild on the Protocol Guild's official website, which is protocol-guild.readthedocs.io.
It's
And
an
that's
official
also
website. It's the docs page.
and that's also where we have this guide, right? So everything that I'm going through right now, you can find that on our website. There's a section called Donate a Portion of Staking Rewards, which goes into a lot of detail with a lot of different screenshots for how to do this, right? All the stuff with 0xSplits. And then also has a section on how to set up your validator client for all the different clients that exist. But let's see if this is done. It's still saying it's creating the split. So we'll give that another second. Let's check this out.
Well, maybe
the transaction
refresh.
was approved.
Refresh this page too.
Let's go to my account. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so on the left, I can see my account. And basically, these are all the split contracts that I've created in the past. And so obviously, the top one is the newest one. So I'm going to click that. And here it is, my brand new split contract, okay? At the very top here is the split contract address. So this is basically an address that has never been used before. It's uniquely associated with this split contract. And you can see split recipients, very similar to the example that I showed you in the beginning. This is my address, this is the Protocol Guild. And it also shows me that I am in control of this split. If I wanted to, I could edit this now and do whatever I wanted with it, right? But with this, we are now ready to take the next step, which would be to update our validator client's fee recipient with this address. Okay.
Just to be ultra clear, so this new contract, this new address, whatever funds are being sent into this address, they'll end up in this special contract, and then later on, there'll be this deposit procedure or function that will be called where whatever fund is in the contract will be split through these recipients, right?
Precisely, yeah, exactly. So there's a distribute function. There's a distribute and withdraw function that you can run to basically split and move the funds into your address. And so we'll go through that after we set this fee recipient.
So this is all manual, correct? Like it doesn't come in and distribute automatically. This is a manual function.
Correct. Yeah. So that's where the distribution incentive could be used to sort of make this automatic. But no, otherwise you would need to come in and do this yourself. What are the tax implications, Torsten? I'm not so sure.
Yeah. I think it might actually be worth recommending people to just set some nominal incentive, distributor incentive, just because I don't know how many people are going to be checking this. I mean, this is also assuming people actually engage with this and are interested in participating. But for some people, it might just be easier instead of, checking every time you get a block reward or whatever, any sort of validator income. It might just be easier for some people to set whatever 1% and then they don't have to worry about checking it and poking it down into the next split. But yeah, that ultimately up to everybody. So
if you set that distribution incentive, it does disperse automatically?
Yeah, so basically there's people searching MEV on the chain, and this is one of the things that they would find. They would 1 ETH or 0.1 ETH, and they can make, as long as it's above whatever their cost to include that in a bundle would be, their bots will automatically include it in a bundle. So that's where the automated bit comes in. Obviously, there's like a computer or a human at the other end doing this. It's not like Ethereum itself that's including this automatically. It still requires some input, but it's automatic from the user perspective, is that they don't have to come and poke this and pay. That's the other thing. They don't have to pay gas fees. So it abstracts a bit of this away, makes it a little bit easier for people.
Yeah, I feel like I would almost have to use a feature like that because, I mean, I'm happy to donate $20, but having the requirement to go and check an interface to engage each time is kind of, I might call that onerous.
Yeah, definitely. And I've done experiments of mainly just using the 0% distributor incentive, but I can see over time if you're receiving regular contributions or as there are many splits, feeding into Protocol Guild, it'll just become impossible to track all of these. So yeah, 1% or 0.5%. It'll depend on the network dynamics of like how many NFT drops are happening that day. It'll depend on like where we are in the market cycle as well. So people will sort of have to tune it to what their preference is, whether it's a very low percent or something a little higher. So it'll get distributed more frequently.
Right. So then, unless there's any other comments, we can move on to updating the fee recipient.
Sure, just go ahead.
And so in my case, my validator was set up using Somer's guide. And I have I'm using a Teku consensus client, right? So what I will show you will be specific to people who are using Teku. But as I mentioned earlier, if you go to the guide that we created, there are instructions to replicate this for all the various consensus clients. But indeed, you know, what I'm going to show you now is very indicative for all other clients because all the steps are relatively similar. So let's go ahead and open terminal and my commands because I do not know them by heart. And so here I'm already logged in to my my validator server, right? You can see that here on the right. These are the commands that I'm going to use, right? So already logged in. The first thing I want to do is stop my instance of Teku. I'll paste that command here, press enter. It's been a while, so I'm going to enter my password again. Oops. Okay. Oh no. Do I have cap locks on? Oh, I did. Here we go. There we go. Third time's a charm. So we stopped Teku. Let's go ahead and verify that indeed it is stopped with the status Teku command. Red is good. Red means it's off. Control Z to close that. Then I will use the teku.service command to basically edit my teku service file, right? So anyone who set up a validator will be familiar with this. They had to set up this file when they created their validators. And so what we're looking for here is this line, validators, proposer, default fee recipient. And again, for the different clients, this might be a little bit different. In general, they have some something related to fee recipient. And you can see I already have something here. I'm going to go ahead and delete what I have in there right now. I will go back and find my split contract address, which was here. I can click at the top. That copies it. Go back to my validator service file, paste that address. Does that look right? 0xB2F. Yep, that looks fine. And now what I can do is I can press Control X, save modified buffer. Yes, sir. Enter to confirm. And then I want to do the daemon reload function before finally starting up Teku again. Start Teku. And let's go ahead and look at that status. We want to see some green here. We see some green. Nice. Control C to exit that. Okay. And that's pretty much it from the validator's perspective, right? All I've done there is changed my fee recipient. And just to hammer home the idea that we discussed a little bit earlier, the withdrawals hard fork does not change this at all, right? The fee recipient flag that we just saw does not change because of the withdrawal hard fork, right? The full and partial withdrawals, they're all handled by a different flag that's your withdrawal credential, right? Completely separate. So basically, do you have to do something different once the withdrawal hard fork is done? No, you can continue running this this setup as we've gone through it today. So now that we've set up the validator with that fee recipient, what we can do next is basically show you what it looks like once you have a block proposal and some funds come into that split contract address. So we're back in our split contracts. I'm going to copy this address one more time, and I'm just going to send some funds to it from MetaMask, right? So let's go ahead and send some funds. paste my split contract address. Let's say that my proposal got me 50 ETH. Oh, sorry, not 50 ETH. That would be great. $50 worth of ETH. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and send to the split contract right now. Let's make that super duper ultra fast. All right. Transaction is pending.
"12 seconds or less, right?"
Exactly. It looks like here I have another transaction pending.
While you're thinking about that, can I acknowledge how awesome it is that we don't have that variability in block times anymore, and like we don't have to wait 40 seconds for a block to be mined? I'm just taking attention off of you while you're trying to figure out why there's a pending TX.
I think that's a old transaction. Sometimes it helps if I change my network. It'll make fake ones fail.
Yeah, okay, let's go ahead and do that. Let's switch to optimism, no favoritism, go back to cheeky node.
Nope,
all right. Well, maybe I can override this with by using the higher nodes. That's how it works, right? So this is 10. Okay, so if I end up sending funds twice, that's not a big deal. It's my split contract address. So let's go ahead and send funds. We want to send $50 US. We're going to add this to go super quick. Custom nonce was 10 before 12. I don't know. I'm going to put 20 here now. No one can stop me. Confirm.
I believe they have to be
Looks a little bit better.
sequential. The nonce.
Yeah. I think you have to, yeah, that one failed. I think you do have to clear that old, whatever it is, stale transaction first before you send this new stuff. And I did not expect to get into MetaMask transaction troubleshooting on this.
I haven't had this issue since EIP 4559.
But here we are. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I think you'd have to clear out the other one first.
Okay, there we go. So I've canceled that one. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I guess once more, third time's a charm, right? That's the lesson that we've learned on this live demo so far. So let's send some money to the split contract address. $50. Still super fast, please. Okay. Boom. Looks like the interface here already sees the funds. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know that changing networks to push fails. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but if you have anything pending that hasn't, for whatever reason, been included and you switch to networks, sometimes it will drop it and they'll give you like a little pop-up. So as long as you don't have something time sensitive that can fail, yeah, it's a little trick.
Yeah. So it sees the funds in here. I'm going to connect my wallet once more. Okay. And so again, we're back in my split contract address and we see the balances here, right? The 0.03 ETH with approximately $50. Now, what I can do here is I can select this ETH, and then there's here an option to distribute. Then there's also an option, distribute and withdraw for myself, distribute and withdraw for all. What I'm going to want to do, because I want this to be distributed and paid out into my wallet immediately, I will do distribute and withdraw for myself. I could also do it for everyone, so also for the protocol guild, but that's unnecessary. You don't have to do it. There's a marginal extra gas cost for doing so. So in this case, you're already being generous with this donation. You don't need to eat the gas cost for withdrawing for everyone. So you can just go ahead and say distribute and withdraw for myself. One function to execute. We'll make that another fast transaction.
And so this is like the manual process we were talking about, where like if you use the distribution incentive earlier, you might not need to do.
Yeah, you could just bypass all of this. What he's doing now on the right side of the screen, distributing. Yeah, you might not have to do it.
So this distribute for myself leaves the protocol guild funds in here for the Protocol Guild to come get?
So there are two concepts or two functions happening in the contract. There's distribute, which may be a bit of a misnomer, but it doesn't actually distribute it into your address. There's this main split contract that it distributes to contracts that are members of this like larger split. So it's sort of like an incremental step in the process, but it doesn't put anything in your address. Similarly for withdrawal, I don't think it's actually withdrawing to your address. It makes it available for withdrawal. So both of those things maybe a little confusing and could use some better terms, but yeah, there are two steps in an incremental process.
Yeah, exactly. And so here we are. So you can see now it's changed. It says distributed. How much has been distributed? $50. And it shows the activity has been updated, that distribution took place. And then what I can also do is I can look at my wallet. So 1D91, I can look at my wallet and look at the internal transactions tab, and I can see that the funds have been sent back to me, right? So from the 0xSplit's main wallet, as Trent just talked about, it's been sent to me, and that's the amount. And that's it. That's it. I made it more complicated than it should have been because of some MetaMask quirks. But fundamentally, those three steps, you should be able to do it in 30 minutes or less, I would say.
Awesome. And I think you could probably see this going to the vesting contract as well. No?
Right. So I think it would need to be withdrawn, but let's go ahead and bring up
the
vesting
click
contracts.
Yeah.
I honestly have no intention of subverting this process. I think this is a great process for a lot of people who want to set up the split and want it to be an ongoing donation. But is there any difference, any substantive difference than just making a direct donation to protocolguild.eth? Like say I expect to, you know, like as in just making one direct donation.
So you save on gas costs. You don't have to wonder, oh, am I actually contributing what I expected to this year? So you get certainty. You know, like, okay, I contributed X dollars, and I feel comfortable knowing that I'm supporting the people working on the protocol. That's one benefit. This is, I think, one thing we want to be like definitely hammer home is like this is an experiment, and it may be better for people just to contribute once a year in bulk and not worry about these on-chain smart contracts, right? And that's part of what this learning process will be about, and especially engaging with ETH stakers, because you are all the people that are really directly engaged with this kind of thing and willing to actually consider experimenting on this front. So I think it might depend on the individual, what their preferences are, maybe what their tax situation is. I don't know. I'm not the tax lawyer, and I can't advise you on that. But yeah, it might make sense to do just one contribution in bulk whenever you feel the urge.
It's odd. As Superfizz, I'm all about experimenting. I'm like, let's push the envelope. Yeah. Let's do something new and interesting. Let's blow up in the process. No, let's not blow up. But yeah, this also does. It seems like, in some ways, more complexity than simply giving, I guess, if that makes sense.
It's possible. Yeah, and it may make more sense for somebody who has like, you know, many validators, and they want to automate some process, and they know they're going to be, you know, running these validators for years, and they don't want to have to do that manual contribution. But ultimately, yeah, like I said, it comes down to the individual preference.
That's really where the benefit, I think, comes in is, and I've kind of heard you talk about the long term before. If I set one of my validators now, or maybe if I set several of my validators to the fee recipient for Protocol Guild, then it's very likely I'm going to forget about that, and that's okay. It's good because I'm making a continuous, ongoing contribution. It's not hurting me, and like in 10 years, it's still engaging, and it might be harder in 10 years to make a donation, but if I've been doing it, if it's ongoing, then it is less expense to me and greater benefit to Protocol Guild.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thanks for this great demo, Chiki. I believe there might be like a special Discord role that people can get if they participate in these kind of donation.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So come on over to the Protocol Guild Discord and show us your split contract address, and you will get a special donor or supporter role in the Discord.
Doesn't do anything, but neither do POAPs. People love those too.
You can always brag about them.
Yeah. Of course.
I was just thinking to myself how this is like true altruism. Like you're giving without any expectation of direct reward. But if there's a POAP in it, then it's
oh, well, then it's no longer altruism, my friend.
Yeah,
still worth it.
Some of the seediest people I know are engaged in POAP.
It's incentivized altruism.
Yeah.
Isn't that a contradiction in terms? What is that called?
Never.
I don't know. Okay.
I think SBF had something to say about that.
Where can we learn more about what are you guys doing with Protocol Guild?
So obviously there's a Twitter account, Protocol Guild, which we need to be better about managing and engaging people. But yeah, that's a good place for bigger announcements. If you're interested in engaging more deeply, there's a Discord, and it's also pretty quiet, but feel free to stop by and ask any questions. If you do set up a split contract, come by for the role. Yeah, and just generally, even outside of these like spaces explicitly for the Protocol Guild, engaging with people outside of it who aren't aware of it, who may not know why it's important or why a mechanism like this should exist. That's also really helpful.
Great. I think that's all that we had planned for today. Is there anything else I'm missing, or is there any other questions you guys had about this? No?
I just wanted to plug real quick that we have a call on Eigenlayer on Thursday if anybody wants to learn more about that, including Trent and Cheeky, because they apparently don't know much.
Well, to be fair, no one knows much, right? Like,
yeah, that's the meme, right?
They did close a funding round recently. I saw that, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy for them.
Hopefully, the funders know what they're funding.
Well, as always, I was jealous that I wasn't in the funding round, but even if I had been invited, I wouldn't have funding. So yeah, anyway, sorry.
All right, I guess that's all that we had for you guys today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to all of these ETHTaker crew member and the Protocol Guild guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, everyone.